Hey, so I'm back. I don't really have much to say. I'm reading your manga recommendations. This video was, I promise, supposed to come out a lot sooner, but you guys recommended me a lot of stuff. So I had to, obviously pick it up, and then I had to go read it, and then I had to go review it, and it took me a while. It took me like over a month to do. Actually, over like 2 months to do. So I finally read everything you guys recommended to me. I think we just hit 500 subscribers. Thank you very much. But I think by 600, I'll probably do another one of these videos, or maybe 550. I don't know. Well, I'll figure it out. I just want to get started with it. I rank these worst to best, so this first manga I'm talking about is the worst manga. But thank you for recommending me anything, even though it was hot garbage. This first one was definitely hot garbage. I would say, though, a lot of this stuff is very, very good. There isn't anything, like, fantastic. Like, I think, like, there's nothing here that, like, was a 10 out of 10 to me, or, like, a 9 out of 10, maybe even. But it was a very, like, substantial amount of quality. Like, no manga that was perfect, but all were just great. Like, just really, really great. The first one is not really, really great. You've probably heard me talk about this. It's Mysterious Girlfriend X. I actually found the person who recommended this to me, and he's not a person anymore. He's mush. I didn't kill. Yeah, this is just really bad. I just don't like it at all. It's just really just not good. In like the first like 2 chapters, the guy like drinks his crush's drool, and then he like admits it to her, and she like I don't even like, she like saves up drool in a jar and gives it to him, and then like I gave this, you know what I rated this out of 10? A 0.5. The 0.5 was a generous 0.5 because there was one scene at the end that I thought was kind of cute. That's it. It is now a 0.5 in my book. You know what that means in my ranking? I have all of them ranked as words. Like 5 is fine, 6 is good, 7 is great, 8 is amazing, 9 is almost perfect, and 10 is masterpiece. You know what a 0 means? A 0 is insulting. This manga is so bad, it is insulting how bad it is. So yeah, that's Mysterious Girlfriend X. Next, we have another manga I don't think was bad. This is definitely a jump in quality, like a huge jump in quality, but I probably won't continue it, nor do I really care for it, I would say. And that's Pandora Hearts. Volume 1. It just wasn't great. I've watched, like, some anime, like Black Butler and Bungo Stray Dogs. It reminds me a lot of that, like a very, like, I don't really know how to explain it, but it kind of reminds me of, like, those 2 anime. I didn't really like those 2 anime. I don't really like Pandora Hearts. It does, like, I will admit, it does a really good job on, like, keeping at least me on my toes and figuring out who is on the good side, who is on the bad side, and not really understanding what is happening. And I know that sounds bad, but it's kind of like a good thing where you're kind of with this main character and you're just experiencing like incredible amounts of whiplash at the same time, and it's able to make the main character more relatable and more justifiable in his actions. It does that well, but overall I didn't really care about any of the characters, including the main character. I didn't care about the world at all. I thought the dialogue was super campy and like super like oh my god, what's the word? Not cringe. Corny. That's the word I'm looking for. Just didn't really care all that much. I don't really like the art either, so. Alright, next, after that, we have a manga that started off I'm gonna be honest, pretty bad, but in the middle, it got a lot better. And that is Blade of the Immortal. I actually really enjoyed Blade of the Immortal. Surprisingly amount. I started it and we're introduced to this guy who can't die, and we're introduced to like his sister, and there's this grandma and stuff, and I just didn't care at all. But then as he like, the story actually starts to progress and he meets like this girl and they travel together and he's like her bodyguard. And there's like an actual mission and there's people to fight. It gets a lot better. It's a lot more linear too, which I enjoy very much. Yeah, the fights are really cool too. The art is really, really good. It has a very like sketchy style. It kind of reminds me, I mean, this is no hate on the art. It's like worse Vagabond, but Vagabond has incredible art. So you can't really get better than Vagabond. But yeah, it is just really, really good, I would say. But not great. As well, I don't want to think the next one is great either, so go to this next one here, and it is Tower of God. This is not even a manga, this is a manhwa. Honestly, I just didn't care. So you see how, like, right here, I don't know if you can see that very well. You might be able to. There's like a black side and a white side. I don't know if you can see that. It's just like two different settings. So like the black side is like before they get into the freaking tower, and the white side is after. Oh, excuse me. The black side part, not very interesting. I didn't care about the characters. I didn't care about the world. I mean, I say that a lot, but I just didn't really find any of it interesting because characters are kind of just talking and nothing is really happening at all. It's like explaining Expedition to me in the first 3 seconds. Like, I just don't care. I just don't care. But after it got a lot more interesting. We're introduced to a lot more characters. He's like placed into the tower and like they have to fight each other and stuff. It's very, very good. I really enjoyed it. We're introduced to a lot more characters. Kind of reminds me of Hunter x Hunter, where, you know, this huge cast of characters are introduced and they're just whittled down one by one by one. I really like that. I really like the main character too. He just kind of seems like your average Joe type character, which really does work in this universe where every single person has mystical powers and they're freaking bunny rabbits and shit, you know? Like, it's done very, very well. I would say at least in this part right here. Not in this part. Not in this part. In this part, though. It's done very, very well. And I'm excited to read more. I'll read more of it. Probably not anytime soon, though, because this series is kind of expensive. Alright. After that, we have a 3-volume series that is complete. And that series, I see it get a lot of hate for, like, no reason, by the way. It's Crazy Food Truck Driver, first 3 volumes. And I get it, like, why. It's a pretty basic story. There's only, like, 2 characters in it, and if you don't like one of them, you're probably not gonna like the story, honestly. This was just like, think of like Food Wars, but like post-apocalyptic. Fuck me. Post-apocalyptic. Oh my freaking Christ. It's good. It's really, really good. It's just like this guy and this girl who's like a refugee, traveling around this post-apocalyptic, holy shit, I said it correctly, world where they make food and stuff. It's enjoyable, it's cute, the action is good, the art is really good. I think it's the 3rd volume. I posted it on my Twitter. There's one panel that goes so fucking hard. Look at this panel, bro. Oh my god, that goes so hard. Shit is so fire. It just looks so, so cool. And it just has like a great vibe to it. The tone and vibe of the story is done really, really well, I would say. And like, it's an enjoyable series. Like, it's not anything like crazy, like, it's not anything emotional. The most emotion I ever felt reading this series was a pleasant sense of hype. Which is fine, you know, it's still really, really good though. I don't know about really, really good. It's still good. It's good. Next, we have a manga that is very beloved by the anime community, especially right now, and that is Delicious in Dungeon, or some people say Dungeon Meshi. I don't know what that means. I'm gonna say Delicious in Dungeon. I'm guessing that's the Japanese name, but whatever. No one says Shinjeki no Kyojin for Attack on Titan, alright? People just say Attack on Titan. Or AOT. Delicious in Dungeon was great. This is like the first 7 out of 10 on the list. This was great. I really just loved the cast. Honestly, it's really the cast that carries this manga. Oh, excuse me. The premise, honestly, I kind of hate the premise of the story. The premise sucks. In my opinion, I hate the premise. My biggest issue with this manga would be a lot higher if there was more urgency. Honestly, if there was more urgency, if there were scenes, so basically the plot is this guy and these 3 people, they go into this dungeon or whatever. It's a very like fairy tale, like isekai type story, and one of their members gets eaten by a dragon. So, but they get like spawned out of the tower. So they need to go back in the tower, go down, and because dragons have a super slow digestive system, go kill that dragon and get her back, right? And right here, it's this guy's sister, right? So you would think that there's a bit more urgency in the situation, but no, they go down. Every chapter says, man, I'm tired, let's make food. And then they spend 3 hours making food. Now, I love the food part. I love the characters. I love their chemistry. They're all charismatic. They're all enjoyable. I love the art. The art is fantastic. I'm a big fan of the world. I'm a big fan of just them making food. Like, it is so fun. It is just such an enjoyable treat to read. It is like the most escapism type story that you can get. But I just wish there was like 1 or 2, or there's a couple scenes where the main character was eating food or something and he just breaks down. He doesn't even have to break down, but he just like, man, I really miss my sister, or something like that. Just show that this is an actual mission we are going on, you know? Because at this point, it kind of just feels like these characters are going to the dungeon and eating food for literally no reason. That's what it feels like, especially because it's literally the first page is when this girl gets eaten by a dragon. I don't know her. I don't even know her name. I mean, I don't know any of these characters' names, I'll be honest. But I read a lot of manga this week, okay, or this month, okay? How am I supposed to know these characters' names? It's probably my biggest issue with Delicious in Dungeon. But, I mean, I'm complaining, but this is still pretty high up on the list. Like, I mean, I wouldn't say that high. There's a lot of other manga higher, but I still really, really enjoyed this. And you should give it a read. Honestly, you'll probably, if you haven't read it yet, you'll probably like it more than I did. I'm just a bitch when it comes to these types of manga. Alright, next, we have 3-volume series, and that is the Apothecary Diaries, the first 3 volumes. Yeah, I really just enjoyed this as well. The setting is super cool and interesting. It's something I've never seen before. It's like I think it's like a ancient China or whatever. It's not ancient China, but it's like China in like the past where like all the women were like, I don't even know like what it's called. Forced to wear a servant in her place. Yeah, she's like a servant. It's like all these women are like servants in like this palace in China. And it's a really cool setting. The characters are fun. Except for like everybody else besides the 2 main characters. The 2 main characters are the ones that sell it. It's her and then this guy back here are the 2 those 2 are like the most enjoyable. When those 2 talk, I'm cleaning through the series. When they get a chapter with those 2, I'm cleaning through the series. They have so much chemistry. They're so dynamic. They're just so fun and enjoyable to read about. The main character is great. She's really enjoyable. She kind of like it's like a weird. She's like obsessed with poison. She like loves poisoning herself. I know that sounds bad, but it is really, really funny when you get to read it. And it does help in a lot of situations where she's involved. Honestly, I kind of wish a lot of this manga is a very mystery type manga where she goes on and like goes to different places and solves mysteries. And usually it's something related to do with poison, because that's her specialty, or like medicine or something, right? And it's good. But and there's one chapter in here where she made like brownies or something, and that one I enjoyed a lot. Where she made like love brownies or something, like with like a love spell in it or something. And that one I enjoyed a lot more, just because it's like it felt like I'm learning. You know, it felt like I was actually learning like new shit. Very Dr. Stone-esque. Yeah, I just like this manga. It's nothing super crazy. I hear people saying like it's fantastic, it's a masterpiece. I haven't gotten there yet. It might be, especially when I get later into the story, but it is really enjoyable. I would say it is very fast paced. Like I got through these volumes very quickly. Fantastic. Next, after that, is a manga I was kind of disappointed in. I'm gonna be honest. I was pretty disappointed in, but I still really liked it. And that was Freerun Beyond Journey's End. I was told by everybody that this like first chapter or whatever was gonna make me cry. I think really it's just kind of my fault for having too high expectations. If you haven't noticed, it did not make me cry. I did not care for the first chapter. It was a good first chapter. It's a really good first chapter. Didn't care though. I think though you need like the way to enjoy this story the most if you're a very big fantasy reader, because it like deconstructs a lot of fantasy tropes in manga but also just in media, and it deconstructs them and reverts them and just tries new things, and it's very interesting. Like the way it does it, it's very interesting. It's very well written. It's very well thought out. I don't read fantasy though. I barely read fantasy, so just my experience with this manga is just not gonna be as high as other people's. That's like, it's just gonna happen. That's how it happens. But I will say I really enjoyed this manga. I am sort of excited to see where Freerun, I think her name's literally Freerun, and then the pink-haired girl, the purple-haired girl, go on with their adventure. It's interesting. It's interesting. It is like, I do kind of like this like purple hair girl's like not motivation, but I like this story of let's give this elf who has already experienced everything, she's lived through like so much shit, let's give her more to experience of life. I really like that. That was a really sweet part of the story that I really hope they dive in further with the next volumes. After that, we have a manga that you're probably going to judge me for having higher than Freerun. And I understand. That's GNER. GNER is very good. It's honestly just like, okay, if we're looking at this like objectively, but it's art, so you can't look at it objectively. But if we're looking at this objectively, this is definitely worse than a lot of the stuff that was read. It's just so fun though. It is so goddamn fun. The action is top notch. It's so easy to read. It's fluid. It's just so quick and dynamic. It is great. Ugh, excuse me. The powers in this manga are so cool. The power system is so interesting. I love the character designs. I love the art. Oh my god, the art style and just the art in general is immaculate. I just love it so much. But it has problems, and those problems are the girl main character is a bit weird sometimes, and when I mean sometimes, I mean all the time. She and it's kind of like literally reading the first volume. They dumb it down later in the second and third volumes. I have the second and third volumes here, by the way. I probably should have mentioned that. But especially in this first volume, it feels like every other panel is a shot of her panties. It's so annoying. It's like it loses its novelty for like in the first page. It literally the second time it does it, it loses its novelty. Because I get it. like it's supposed to be like a showing of like how this teenage boy, because we see it in the eyes of this like teenage boy, and how he's like going through puberty, and it's like a puberty allegory for like with him in this costume. I get it, but it's every other fucking page or every other fucking panel. I don't need to keep seeing panty shots. Please, just get to this. Just get to the cool story, please. That's definitely what holds it back. But in the second and third volumes, they tone it down a lot. Especially in the third volume, we're at a very like climactic moment where both of our characters are kind of in like the biggest pinch of all time. And it's just really, really scary of just what's gonna happen next. But yeah, that's Glutton. It's really good. Well, my manga just fell, so I'll get that later. After that, we have a little manga by the great writer of Inio Asano, Dead Dead Demons, Destruction, the first 2 volumes. I think an anime just came out too. I'll probably watch it eventually. Yeah, this was just really, really good. The more I think about this manga, the higher it goes up, I would say. It's very different from Goodnight Poon Poon, the only other manga I've read by that guy. It's very different. I would say the characters are a lot more wacky and kooky and more silly. Like, there's one guy who's like super, super fat, and his face literally looks... His face is like extremely tiny. Like, he's definitely a cartoon character. A lot of these characters are cartoon characters, but these characters feel very real and very just ordinary people, I would say. And it sounds bad, like, you know how like when people are making movies or like TV shows or really anything, any media, there's always a line where you can't cross, where you make things feel too real, and then the person isn't gonna like it because they don't even know how real it is. If that makes sense. You know, like it's too realistic, where it just ends up to not be good writing. Well, good writing is whatever. But, this manga kind of just crosses that line in literally the first page. It does not care. Characters have weird and awkward conversations. It's super campy. It's super slow. There's like, I think like chapters of just characters talking about whatever they want to talk about. There's no substance to it, and there's no like it doesn't feel like foreshadowing. I don't think it is, because Good Eye Poon Poon did the same thing. It was not foreshadowing. It was more of just letting these characters breathe and talk as characters. It didn't feel like someone was writing this story. It felt like I was literally peering outside of a window to watch people talk. It literally felt like I was watching real human beings out on the road or out on the sidewalk just talking to each other. And it does it so well. It's like this, like Goodnight Poon Poon, what's his name? Tatsuki Fujimoto's works do that very well too. But I do think it gets a little bit more crazy and weird sometimes as well. Obviously, but like a lot, I think, I don't think Vagabond does that very well too. Same as Slam Dunk and Real. Real does that very, very well. It's one of the best. But yeah, I'm very excited to keep reading this just for that fact alone. Alright, next. We're almost done, guys. We're almost done. We have Chojun X. This manga, I don't even want to talk about. This manga was so good. I enjoyed this so much. Again, like most of these manga are just like, I enjoyed it, which is why they're so good. But like, this was so good. Like, Chojun X just put like the biggest smile on my face. It is my like, I don't even know. It is like my Jujutsu Kaisen. You know how everybody was like freaking out about like the animation of JJK season 2 and stuff? This is my Jujutsu Kaisen. I'm reading this manga. There's a baseball monster throwing fastballs and murdering people. The biggest smiles on my face. I'm jumping up and down, waving my fist. Like, it's just such a creative and inventive manga. Like, the art, one, is fantastic, made by the same guy who did Tokyo Ghoul, which is, art is also great in there. And the characters are super likable. They have great chemistry with each other. I just enjoy hearing them talk. But the fight scenes, oh my god, some of the best fight scenes I've ever seen in manga, period. The art is super quick, dynamic, smooth, and just beautiful. Like, I can sit on a still panel and look at that and say, that is beautiful. And I can read an entire chapter of just fighting, and I can be like, that is beautiful as well. It does it so goddamn well. The powers are so cool. The power system is sick. It can be... I love power system where it's not complicated at all, and you can have basically any powers. Like, the limit is literally just the author's imagination. You know, that was a big problem I had with series like JJK, where the power system just got too complicated. It got to a point where there was like a character, like volume 6 or volume 5, where he just showed up and he had like a guitar or something, like this old guy with a guitar, and he like riffed the guitar and it, like sound blast would hit the guy. And then I turn the page and there's a giant panel explaining how his power works. And I'm like, I get it. He has guitar powers. I don't need to know how the curse energy works and how it reverberates back into his body, and he's using his body as a curse energy amplifier. I don't need to know that. Just tell me he has guitar powers. That's so cool. That's why I love One Piece's and Chojun X. But One Piece's, like, what's it called? One Piece's power system. It's just, he ate the gum fruit, and now he's gum. Sick! Cool! That's all I need to know. And then, later on, you know, like, Luffy's different types of moves where he, like, blows himself up into a balloon, and he, like, bites his finger and does Gear 3 and Gear 2, that's when you make things complicated. That's when you expand on those simple powers. And then including hockey onto that too makes it even more inventive, more creative, and more interesting. Chojun X, I don't know if it does the same thing, but it does it where they're given very, very simple powers. Like, at a first glance, you can basically tell what the guy's power is. But the characters use their own imagination and creativity to expand on those powers. My Hero Academia, I watched the anime, I don't own it, but My Hero Academia does the same thing very, very well too, where characters are given these powers with these drawbacks, and their suits and their, you know, minds or their special moves or whatever amplify them. It's done so well. Chojun X does it fantastically. I found a new favorite series. I don't know if it's a new favorite series, but it is just really, really good. And actually, the art kind of reminds me of Gachiakuda. If you've read that, that's like a new thing that came out. Next, I won't talk about this too long because this video is getting very long. We have Sakura Saku, the first 2 volumes. This was just like a really classic, enjoyable shoujo series. I don't read a lot of shoujo. This brought me back. This gave me the feeling of when I was collecting Haikyuu for the first time. Haikyuu is my first and favorite series of all time. It gave me that feeling again of just picking manga up and reading it and experiencing new things. Like when I read a manga now, like I read like a basic shonen or whatever, I have an image of like tropes in shonen or how things work in like this like very formulaic demographic. I have an image of that. Like I know it gets to a point where I've read so much shonen and so much of this, so much of that, where I can almost predict what characters are going to say or what's going to happen in the story, just because of how experienced I am. I'm not. That's not to say that I'm bragging, but like it's true. It's true. But like getting into shoujo and just reading just more inventive stuff outside of my comfort zone, it makes me come back to that past feeling of just experiencing something new where I can't really predict anything and I can't, you know, like I just don't know what's gonna happen. It's like my first shoujo series of all time, so yeah. Well, besides Perfect World, wherever that is, it's up there. But all right. After that, We have a manga that I'm convinced will probably enter my top 20. I doubt it, but maybe my top 10 soon. But it'll definitely enter my top 20 the more it fleshes out its characters, world, and art. And that is Metalist. Metalist will enter. It's not there yet. None of these manga are in my top 20 yet. None of these. But it will get there. I don't know about pretty soon, but it'll probably get there. The art is extremely expressive. Like a character, if you know, like if a character's disappointed, you know it. He has the whole anime face ass shit of disappointment. It's fantastic in the art department. There is so many, like in this first 2 volumes, there was like 3 or 4 emotional resolutions that happened, and I love how they're using the sport of ice skating to convey those emotional resolutions so well. Like character arcs are finished in this manga. It's done really, really well. Like, hold on, let me get a panel. Let me get a panel just what this looks like. I just saw it, but it was one of like the second main character crying, and just looking at it broke my heart. Even just looking at these panels, it just fills you with like emotion and stuff. Hold on. Like, look at that panel of that man crying. That is just so good. That is just so good. The artist is so good at just showing emotion through the characters, through the sport, through the activities, through their actions. It's incredible. Also, the author, I don't know if it's the same person. It is the same person. The author does so well at making the main character act like a kindergartner. I know that doesn't sound right. One of my biggest problems with Spy Family was Anya did not act her age at all. She had goofy kid moments that every kid has or whatever, but she just acted too mature for age for me to get emotionally invested in her at all. And it didn't help that I didn't really find her that cute anyway. That was like one of my biggest problems with Spy Family. Metalist, while not very similar, but Metalist does it so much better, where this main character makes mistakes and assumptions, and she doesn't really think all that well, and as you and the coach get frustrated, it connects you with the story even more. It's done so brilliantly. This manga, I think, is something special. I know an anime is coming out soon, I think next year, but this manga does something really, really special. And if they, my biggest problem with this probably was just the writing. I think the characters just talked kind of weird to me. If they can amp up the emotion in this, make more longer and better paced arcs over longer periods of time, I could definitely see this hitting my top 20, maybe top 15, and possibly my top 10. I don't know if it'll kick out Blue Lock as the 10th spot. It might. I don't know yet, but we'll see. And like I said before, none of these manga are in my top 20, but I think this manga does deserve to get a mention. And that manga is I Want to Eat Your Pancreas. It's definitely not fair that this manga wins, because it's the entire manga. Like, this is just a one-shot, but it is very, very good. It's just, like, incredible themes. It's like your classic tier bait story, but it does a well job at that. So, I'm not going to talk about it for too long. I think everyone knows why it's good. I will say my biggest problem with it was actually the ending, and just the fact that it went on for too long. Like, it got to a point where I got the ending, and then the emotional resolution hit, and I, sobbed tears, and then it just kept going, and then it just kept going, and it kept going, and I went, okay, I got it. I know it's sad. A tear has run down my face already, and it just kept going, And then I was just like, okay, you lost me. You know, it just dragged on for a bit too much. It definitely could have said a lot less, or it definitely could have said a lot more with a lot less. I would say personally. But when it comes to like these sad moments, it really is just personal preference at the end of the day. But yeah, those were all of your recommendations. Thank you. Last time measure I thought was kind of better. Not really better. I only say that because one of you guys recommended a reel to me, REAL reel. And it's in my top 10 favorite manga. I think it's like number 8 or number 7 or something like that. Like that manga is just gonna be like good. I like that recommendation video is just gonna be higher up in my mind because of that. But hey, you know, in maybe like 3 or 4 months when I do another one of these videos, you better recommend me some heat, okay? You better recommend me some good shit, manga or manhwa. You could recommend it at the bottom of this video if any of you are still here. Okay, thanks for watching. Goodbye. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe.